Tim Blodgett doesn't get out on the Hudson nearly as much as he'd like to.
Oh, I just missed one.
His ideal summer day, spending it on this river in upstate New York, fishing bass and pike out of its waters.
There's one. Nice fish. Probably about 1.75 pounds.
A keeper maybe, but not for keeps. Anything caught must be released. And it's not because fishing season has ended.
Growing up, you couldn't fish here. You didn't want to fish here because of the pollution.
For 3 decades, starting in the 1940s, industrial chemicals known as PCBs were in use at 2 General Electric facilities in upstate New York, including this one just north of Albany. The factories disposed of the chemicals by dumping them into the river next to the plant, causing PCBs to build up on the river bottom for miles, and also in the fish, making their consumption potentially harmful to humans. So New York State banned fishing in the upper Hudson from 1976 until 1995, when it began allowing fishermen like Tim Blodgett back on the river, but only to catch and release.
Everybody kind of had the running joke that the fish glowed. You wouldn't know that the river is sick just by looking at it.
Fast forward to 2011, and this sick river is now the site of a $1 billion cleanup effort, paid for by GE, as part of a settlement with the Environmental Protection Agency. Key to the cleanup is a process called dredging, to remove the PCBs from the river bottom.
This is one of the most environmentally complex, logistically complex dredging projects ever conducted in the United States.
The Hudson River dredging project has not been without controversy. GE opposed dredging for years in favor of letting the river essentially heal itself over time. The EPA's position was to take no action until 2002, when it issued a decision to implement dredging. 10 years of study led the EPA to conclude that PCBs need to be removed from the river.
Unfortunately, the PCBs don't degrade, so the PCBs are still there. GE's contention was let it get covered with clean material, and our contention was that that's not really happening. Therefore, it needs to come out. You have to get the source out for the river to be able to recover.
So for the second summer in a row, dredges, barges, and support craft work on the river 24 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Each location that's to be dredged was triangulated with satellites. So a dredge operator sits in the cab, finds the precise location where the PCBs are buried, and then reaches that clamshell environmental dredge into the river to retrieve that material.
The PCB-laden muck is barged to a facility that removes and treats the water. The remaining material is then wrapped up and shipped by rail to hazardous waste landfill facilities in Idaho and Michigan.
So far, we've gotten down to here so far this year. Overall, the total volume we'll be taking out of the river is about 2.6 million cubic yards. That would fill the old Yankee Stadium twice.
After dredging, fresh fill is brought in and carefully layered over the dugout sections. The plan is to then plant vegetation in those spots underwater in the spring. GE will continue dredging south for 40 miles until all the areas marked by the EPA are cleaned up. They hope to be done within 5 to 7 years.
This is not a cleanup for our generation. It's for the next generation or the generation thereafter. It will take a long time for the river to finally heal, even after the dredging is concerned. Without this, it would not heal.
Tim Blodgett will continue to catch fish in the Hudson River. And maybe someday he won't have to throw them back.
The Hudson River is definitely a jewel, and I hope that as the Hudson recovers from the dredging and from the pollution, that people will make it a point to come here. It's been a pleasure to be able to fish on this river now. It's a privilege, really.